Please don't see us, please don't see us, please don't see us, please don't
Hello, yes, we are painting Dooku today, and I'm going to try for an OSL scheme with these two contrasting light sources. Now actually I'll be painting three different light sources. This is the neutral light that's lighting everything, the blue light, and then the red light. I just want to show you this method that I picked up that's quite effective for getting this kind of OSL. I'm by no means a master, but I hope you enjoy. Let's dive into it. Okay, as ever I've started with a zenithal highlight, and the first stage is going to be just defining those base colours. Because you've got to keep track of like 3 different sets of colours during the painting of this, it's nice to have some just easily defined base colours to work from. So it's the Pro Acryl Payne's Grey for the jacket. The trousers are going to be Rhinox Hide. The boots I'm basing in black. Then I use Doombull Brown on all the parts that are going to be leather or gilt, and I actually paint off camera the cloak in this. Now the light sources, I'm going to come in with some Pro Acryl White Blue, and I want to get them as bright as possible because these are going to be the source of the main lights in the piece. So here you can see I've got it. You can see this model is very well designed. It seems to be perfectly done to capture both these light sources. Just some of the angles are really nice, so it almost like suggests to you that, yeah, this is the way it should be lit. So what I do is I take my airbrush. Now you don't have to do this, but like it's just the easiest way to get in a quick value sketch. I'm going to paint over all of this in the end anyway, but it just gives me some idea of where the light sources are hitting. And you really just want to try and get the airbrush to be spraying in the right directions where the light will naturally resolve from that source. Here we go, we've just got some basic lights in there, and you can see like the way the lines of the cloak, the jacket are done. It really does kind of draw you towards making this OSL effect on it. So I take some bar red and I'm just going to again just sketch in a bit of that colour, just to give me a general idea of what I'm working towards. Next I take some Automatic Blue and I'm going to do the same on the other side. See just how good these two lighting effects are going to look on this model if we can pull them off right. So let's move on to the actual painting process itself. I'm going to be making what I can't help thinking of as a flowchart of colours. So we have here our base tone of the Payne's Grey. Now there's 3 different highlight routes it's going to be taking depending on which of the lights is hitting it. For the main light source, I'm going to take that pain grey and I'm going to mix in some dark ivory in a couple of stages and just highlight up that way. Anything that's hit by the blue light, I'm going to mix in blue-green as a mid-tone and the white-blue as a highlight colour. Whereas everything hit by the red light, I'm going to mix in this Aldebaran red and some sunny skin tone. So you can see I'm just highlighting up the same colour in 3 different ways, and it might help you to think of it as painting the same model 3 different times with a light source from a different direction each time. If you need to set the shadow at any point, as I am here, you know, just get into some of those recesses and line them. You can go back to the base colour because that's quite dark, or at some point I mix some black into it to go a little bit darker. Then you just keep highlighting these 3 different schemes in the same way you would for anything else. Some kind of knowledge of volumetric highlighting is really essential here, so this still isn't a scheme for beginners, even though I'm far from an expert at it. A lot of this stage is then tying the colours together with glazes. The red and blue light will have a lot of glazes of that red to smooth them, and I'm going to be spending a lot of time just edge highlighting, refining the edges, refining all the blends. You know, a project like this and getting it that smooth, for me at least, takes a lot of refinement and going over things. So I've skipped a lot of that, but you can see all the basics here, the way that I'm painting it, the way that I'm just glazing over all these areas, and I'll keep on doing this over and over. You can see we've got a vague idea now, but there's so much more refinement I'm going to do to it afterwards. I'm going to start picking out some of the edge highlights on the neutral part here. In a normal situation, to get OSL effects this vivid, the actual light would be quite dark. Now I've brightened it a little bit on this because I thought the cartoony look could kind of suit that, but I still need to make sure on the boundaries between the coloured OSL and the natural light, there needs to be a certain amount of shadow to separate them really into 2 opposing halves. Going to go back to the actual light sources themselves and start refining them. Remember, they still need to be the lightest points of the piece, so I'm just going to redefine that central white-blue there, and then I'm going to start glazing that red over it. And I'm going to go onto the lightning next and do similar, just glazing it back, using some white blue to pick out some of the edges, just making it look a more convincing light source. Next I'm going to start on all the gold non-metallic metal, and I picked it out initially in the Tumblr brown, yeah, and I'm going to highlight that up with some Vallejo yellow green. Now I really like yellow green for like old looking gold. It's got yellow tones you need to highlight gold correctly, but that green just gives it a little bit of flavour. And obviously, as it's non-metallic metal, it will catch the reflections of that light quite heavily, so I make sure to emphasise some parts with the red and the blue, mix then with that yellow green. Next I'm going to do the skin, and I pick out 3 regular tones for this skin, and as a deeper shadow I'm going to bring in that Payne's Grey. I'm just going to highlight the face up like I normally would from the top, and then start working in those lights afterwards. Now the face is the only part that's a little different. You can see at this point I've done off camera the trousers, the cloak and the boots, and the thing to note about them is that I just used exactly the same method that I did on the tunic, except obviously starting from those base colours. So the cloak, the base colour was the Doombul brown, the trousers I started from the Rhinox hide, and obviously the black boots, and I've just worked them up with the same neutral highlight, red highlights and then blue highlights in exactly the same way. Just detailing the face now. This was a really long project. All told, it took me 3 full days of work to get this done, so not the quickest, but it was definitely a fun experiment, and I found it was all about managing the colours and making sure you know what you're painting at any given moment. I'm going to take some scale 75 graphite and sketch in the hair, then use the same 3-tone highlighting technique. Right, these are the last little bits of the model then. I'm going to cut to the beauty shots in a second. I really hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. It was a major challenge for me, something I've never painted quite so complicated before. I've done other OSL obviously, but never with 2 sources like this. So I hope people like it. If you've got any comments, you've got any criticisms for me, if you want to try it yourself, let me know down below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to Bleeding Tree Gaming. Bye bye!